The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Taco Comfort Solutions.
Good evening and welcome to my State of Mind. I am Dan York. Impeachment is over. The trial ended last weekend, but the repercussions will be forevermore. What happened there? What was really going on with the process, and did it play out exactly the way it should have? Everyone's got a point of view on that, but expertise is what we need. So we shall seek it out here this evening. Rich Arenberg from Brown University, who's written extensively about the Senate, and Joe Cammarano, our political scientist from PC, join me this evening. So really, the trial, being what it was punctuated in a pretty profound way by Republican Minority Leader Mitch McConnell.
There's no question, none, that President Trump is practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of the day.
On the top left of your screen, Rich Arenberg, whose expertise in the Senate we have so needed and utilized over the course of recent history. He, of course, is at Brown's Watson Institute and has decades of service in the U.S. Senate, and who's already reflected on the attack and what this whole thing means. And we've done some emoting here, no doubt about it, Rich. And of course, Joe Cammarano, my ace of political science at Providence College, is also, felt a pull on his heart and a real emotional connection to what's happened here at the Capitol. Now we have to talk about how it was reconciled or not. Right. So, guys, thank you very much. Heavy duty expertise here this morning as we record this on Thursday for this weekend show. Rich, I'll start with you off the top. A gut check on how this impeachment trial finished.
Well, I mean, I think it's regrettable that the final outcome is regrettable, but not unexpected, certainly. And I think the presentation that was made by the House managers was just right on point.
We started, Joe, with the soundbite of Mitch McConnell just offering this kind of, for me as a layman, unexpected but almost show-stopping finish, anticlimactic after you thought, Schumer spoke and then McConnell spoke, and I figured I'm like cleaning dishes on a Saturday afternoon after being riveted to the whole thing. I'm thinking, what is he doing? What is he doing?
Well, I think part of that was catharsis. That Mitch McConnell made several compromises to work with Donald Trump to get his conservative agenda passed, particularly the judicial appointments. And for him, it was this sort of deal with the devil. And with this being hopefully his last deal with that devil, he was able to just unload. And I think that's what we saw. Genuine emotional unloading.
Because some would say it was a needle-threaded and a calculated message to multiple constituents, donors who are drying up over Donald Trump, fellow senators who could not un-Trump themselves, but kind of setting a tone, keeping himself as the leader of the party, but going far enough to try to disassociate Trump from the party and extricate him from there, a defense of the Constitution, but an indictment, sending a signal to the new attorney general to prosecute, knowing that when he does, he'll probably bust his horns. I mean, so that's the other version of what was going on there.
But they can coexist. When you have someone like Mitch McConnell, who's very talented, has enormous experience, his gut instinct integrates all of that in addition to that cathartic argument I made. So This is a guy who was just acting, and he knows how to act.
But the statement he delivered on the Senate floor could have been the opening statement of the House managers. I mean, it was that strong. And when you put it together with his vote to acquit, it doesn't really compute.
Right. It's like he did it, he did it, he did it, he's responsible, he did it, he's guilty, but I'm not allowed to say it because the Constitution prevented me from it because guess what? Timing wasn't good and they didn't deliver on time, but I'm the one who delayed receiving the impeachment charges to begin with before the inauguration.
My response to that is, why would we expect Mitch McConnell to do anything but instinctual calculation for his own benefit? And so, voting to acquit benefits his position as the leading Republican in the country. But then lacing into the president allows him to sort of try to get rid of Trump in the future. And so that's my angle on that.
Yeah. So what then becomes of it? Donald Trump has been quiet until 2 nights ago when he just comes out and laces McConnell from Mar-a-Lago and calls him every name in the book and makes fun of his physicality and all the things we expect from Trump. Rich, you're shaking your head. I mean, it's just we know the script. McConnell, as we on press time, just checking at some of the stories this morning about it. McConnell's sourced response is going to be no response. Just completely ignore him. Do you think that's the right play?
Well, what McConnell cares about in the final analysis is regaining control in the midterm elections. That's the calculation that he's making. Now, it's a very dangerous game because we saw in Georgia in the 2 Senate races in Georgia last month, pretty clearly what can come of a divided Republican Party that's kind of at war with itself. And it's pretty clear based on the acquittal itself that Trump is still firmly in charge of the Republican Party, but McConnell is making a different calculation. And as I say, it's a dangerous one. I mean, he put the trial balloon up. I mean, I think he was quite prepared to vote to convict Trump, and he would have preferred to do that. But he wasn't going to do that unless he could bring enough Republican senators along, hopefully to put the stake in Dracula.
Yeah.
But even short of that, a significant additional number of Republicans, and he just didn't get that reaction.
Yeah, so we'll talk about so when we come back, let's talk about the actual play-by-play of the trial. It was quite fascinating, and the battle over witnesses was another drama on Saturday. We'll talk about that, and also before we're done, try to figure out what happens next with Rich Arenberg from Brown University and Joe Cammarano from I think there's a school called Providence College. Yes, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
When President Trump incited a lawless mob to attack our process, he was attacking our democracy. He was trying to become king and rule over us against the will of the people and the valid results of the election. For the first time ever in our history, a sitting president actively instigated his supporters to violently disrupt the process that provides for the peaceful transfer of power from one president to the next.
Professors Rich Arenberg and Joe Cammarano are with us. This conversation about the trial itself, the impeachment trial itself, David Cicilline, obviously our 1st District Congressman, showing himself to have learned from his life experiences. He wasn't Jamie Raskin, but he was 1A. It was pretty impressive, and frankly, across the board, I don't care where you are on the trial itself. You had to give high marks to the presentation offered by the Democratic House managers. I see you both nodding, so we'll stipulate to that. What was fascinating about the trial is that it had no witnesses, and then again on Saturday morning. By the way, as a sidebar, I wrote in my Valley Breeze column this week that Rhode Island dodged a big bullet, because I thought about 10 o'clock on Saturday morning when they moved toward witnesses because voted to at least talk about witnesses, and they were going to take the Republican Congresswoman's, not more than hearsay evidence of her conversation with the Minority Leader McCarthy when McCarthy was on the phone with Trump, and he's saying, help, help, help. No, it's not Antifa, it's MAGA. And Trump is saying, oh, I guess they care more about the election than you do. And that was going to come in, and it was going to establish this mindset of intent, from the very beginning. And I'm thinking, Gina Raimondo's never going to get confirmed, because right, Rich? I mean, the Senate can only walk and chew gum at different times, it seems to me, and that could have sent Rhode Island into oblivion. But we dodged the bullet when they put that evidence, into the written record and moved on. Sorry for the long introduction, but it was complicated. What was your take on what happened there, Rich?
They wanted the testimony of the witness, but when the Republicans made it clear that this was going to lead to additional witnesses, I think Schumer and ultimately Biden didn't want to drag this trial out for another several weeks.
Right. And
the outcome was clear.
Well, that's the thing.
It wasn't going to change the outcome.
That's the thing, Joe. It just seemed to be anything in the category of anything that could be delivered may not have moved it. Although I'll tell you, Mike Pence looking at him straight in the eyes saying, yeah, this guy left me in a lurch. It might have got 2 or 3 or 4 more. I don't know. You tell me.
I would love to have seen the trial move forward with witnesses, regardless of the consequence. I think it would have been an important sort of process for everybody involved. I think it would have legitimized the whole idea and the whole notion of presidential accountability. And I think it's really unfortunate. I think it enabled people like Ted Cruz and Rand Paul to, and Josh Hawley to put their feet up and not take this seriously. If there were live witnesses, that could not have happened.
So tell me what you guys think about the option that was not in play, and that was the 14th Amendment use of a majority-only vote to bar him from running for further office, which reportedly, again, above my pay grade, could have been matched up with a censure vote as well, making it easier. Rich, your expertise in the Senate, tell me, do you think that was a good option and they should have taken it in hindsight?
From my perspective, the 14th Amendment never really had a lot of traction among most Democrats in the Senate. I think it's just not. It's not quite a direct fit.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, what was our goal here, guys? Was our goal to impeach the president who, by timing, had already left office, or was it to punish through prevention that he could never run again?
Well, not to dance on the head of a pin, but he was impeached before he left office.
So true.
The trial occurred. The trial occurred after he left office, but Mitch McConnell played a big role in that occurring that way too. I mean, That's another irony about what McConnell had to say is he sort of blamed the fact his acquittal vote on the fact that it had taken too long to get to the trial, and he's the one that had put up the roadblocks in the first place.
Yeah, I fell into my own trap on the radio. I'm reminding everybody every day that he was impeached. He's been charged twice, in his illustrious career. But I'm talking more about.
And that's important. That's going to be in the first line of his obituary. It's going to be twice impeached former President Donald Trump.
Okay. All right. So Joe, did that have more value than preventing him from running in 24?
I don't think the 14th Amendment was workable, and I don't think it's really what the bigger point is. I don't think the point was to punish Donald Trump specifically. We're talking about a system-saving process. A trial was important because we have a vulnerable political system, and whether people consider us a democracy or a republic, elections are key to that, and undermining the election is a fundamental challenge to our republic, and a trial would have gone through that for all of us, and that's what the importance of a trial would have been.
All right. Going forward, there's talks of further study and how the Senate is working and how it should work, and that famous filibuster concept that Professor Arenberg is so familiar with and has written about. When we come back on My State of Mind, stay with us.
Did Nancy Pelosi know on January the 5th that there was a threat to the Capitol? What did President Trump do after the attack? And I want to make sure that the Capitol footprint can be better defended next time.
I could talk to these guys all night. This is such an important conversation. Rich Arenberg from Brown University, having served in the Senate for decades and has written books about process and really somebody that we lean on here. And Joe Cammarano's political science perspective is well, Joe's been with us the entire Trumpian way here. It's been some roller coaster for everybody. The process going forward, let's talk about what was left undone. We didn't get everything about what happened with the insurrection, if you will, on January 6th through the trial, witnesses or not. And now Nancy Pelosi is calling for a 9/11 type commission. You just saw Lindsey Graham, hopefully you did, saw Lindsey Graham, kind of, goading Nancy Pelosi into the same concept. It seems like the two sides want it for what they think are competing successful reasons. Joe, what do you think about a 9/11 commission?
Well, actually, I think in the absence of a long in the absence of a long trial, I think it's necessary that there has to be some sort of consensus on what happened, what it meant, and how we move forward. And so I'm really supportive of the idea, and I think it's probably going to help that process.
Rich, do you think it's the signature we need?
Yeah, I do. I do think that event, we really haven't come fully to grips with it yet, even with the presentation in the impeachment trial. There's still the suggestion that there are all sorts of interconnections in the background here. And I think, this type of commission is a good idea. I think, for the reasons that Joe mentioned earlier, I think it's important to fully understand what happened here and to provide some accountability in the end.
All right, so we'll see where those chips fall as they may. Let's talk about the Senate moving forward. So, one of the reasons was described earlier that the Democrats were motivated to move quickly too is that we've got this thing called COVID that you may know about, and it's we've got vaccine distribution issues, we've got all sorts of resourcing, economic stimulus, yada yada, and a hanging $1.9 trillion package that Joe Biden is dancing with Republicans with. Right. He may go on his own. He may go on his own, and through the process of reconciliation, just try to get a majority vote. this dance with the Republicans is interesting, and the filibuster rule comes into play here. As quickly and as concisely as you can, Rich, you've written about this. Joe Manchin, the West Virginia senator, is sticking with a process thing that might screw this up. What's the play?
Well, he's not alone. There are several Democrats in the caucus who recognize that this is although it's an appealing idea to get your agenda through with just using the bulldozer of just Democratic votes, it's short-sighted. It's a very short-sighted posture that proponents of getting rid of the filibuster take, because it's inevitable that the Republicans will someday be back in control. And, the Democrats will not be happy with the unintended consequences of this. We saw it with judicial nominations. It was Democrats who did away with the filibuster on judicial nominations, and that's been a total disaster. Some of the more honest ones will even acknowledge that to you.
Okay, so in essence, Joe, we only have a few seconds here. Rich's concept that the Senate needs to be slower, more deliberative, and have super majorities to do its essential, crucial business still is intact. Do you agree?
I do agree. I think it's one of those things in our Constitution that protects us from wild ideological swings in government. And so I actually agree completely with Rich.
Even in a crisis?
Even in a crisis.
We'll leave it there.
Because we'll get out of the crisis. We have to think about what, in 5 years from now, how we use it.
Got it. Guys, thank you so much. Rich Arenberg from Brown, Joe Cammarano from PC. Final word.
Thank you.
So with impeachment over, the Senate moves on a lot of things, including, likely, our governor's confirmation to Secretary of Commerce. So by the time we reconvene, we could have a brand new governor, and perhaps a deal on COVID relief to get more resources across this country to get more vaccines into the arms of Americans. We'll keep on it. Weekdays 3 to 6 on WPRO, live on the radio, and back here next weekend on My State of Mind. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.